We got Scott Grayson here joining us now to add some more here to this Eagles loss on a Monday. Gut-wrenching is how Jeff and I are describing it. Scott, how you doing, man? How was it down there? And did you get back safely?
Yeah, everything was good, other than the way the game ended, of course. But
besides that,
it was. Yeah, other than that, everything seems to be going fine.
Did you fly out of DFW today, Scott?
I sure did.
Oh, that's one of my favorite airports. It's the only one where the baggage claim is actually right next to your gate. You don't have to go to a baggage claim area.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Yeah, it is well designed, sure.
I think Jerry Jones might have had a role in that.
Let's just dive into the DFW layout.
He's the king of baggage, you know what I'm saying, man?
Oh, sure. Just like the envelope he slid the refs yesterday, right?
Oh, my gosh. That was about I mean, Scott, where do we start with this game yesterday? Because you just said it. We could talk for 20 minutes about the officiating. We could talk for 20 minutes about Carson Wentz and the tale of two halves. We can talk about Doug Peterson. We can talk about the defense. I'll let you dictate where we begin this conversation, because like I said, it's just a laundry list of what went wrong and who's to blame.
Yeah, it certainly is. I guess we'll start in chronological order. The way that game started with the opening kickoff and the fumble, I've never seen something like that happen, where they say they couldn't see a clear recovery when there was nothing but Eagles around them, and one of them came out of the pile with the ball. Usually that ends up determining a call one way or the other. And then the other thing I don't understand, I know Doug was asked about it in his news conference today, was they did not rule it a fumble. So if you challenge that it was a fumble, they say it was a fumble, even if it didn't recover, does that in some way not give you back timeout or let you have that challenge? That's minor. But if the Eagles get the ball on that play, does it then dictate a different start to the game? The offense, maybe Doug's not going off his script, he's going off his red zone plays, and suddenly, maybe they start off a little better, the defense isn't playing from behind. You never know, and that's why you play the game. The Dallas Goedert pass interference, that was baffling to me as well. How does that change the game if that stands? Maybe the Eagles get the ball back.
Well, they scored on that drive. They had a touchdown.
They ended up scoring.
Yeah, they had a touchdown on that drive. So that's.
But it saves time.
Yeah, that's. Oh, I see what he's saying. The time on the clock. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But then maybe you have the ball at the end of the game instead of the Cowboys.
That's true.
Possibly.
You know what's amazing, Scott?
There's so many other places you can go. The offense and Doug's play calling continues to be stagnant. Where was the aggressive Doug? I kind of really expected after that penalty that they'd go for two. And I understand what Doug was saying today, but your defense has been run up and down the field.
Yep.
93 plays over 45 minutes that they were out there when you include overtime. Why even take that chance? Just try and show them if you can shut them down, we win the game.
That's one of the biggest surprises for me, Scott, is how does he not go for it? And it's not just anyone we're talking about. We're talking about the Doug Peterson that if anyone is going to go for it in that situation with how that game was played and how it went, you would think that Doug would go for it. With everything you just said, the defense being on the field for over 45 minutes, you finally find a way to score here and get back in it, and he just kicks a field goal and makes his defense inevitably trot right back on the field and just finally break.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you. I was looking at that defense, to me, just looked gassed. I even asked some of the guys after the game about it. And they acknowledged they were out on the field for a long time, but they weren't going to start pointing fingers at anyone for how long they were out there. I just, look, 93 plays, 45 minutes. Fletcher Cox said that's the most he's ever played this season. It was definitely taking its toll, and I think that's why the Cowboys were able to march down the field in overtime. They just couldn't come up with that key stop because I just don't think they really had it in them at that point anymore. And that's not necessarily the defense's fault. The offense in the first half kind of led towards that by not being able to stay on the field themselves. So I just think you go for two there. I really do. I was really shocked that Doug, of all people, who has the aggressive tendency, didn't do it.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into some of your grades now. And, we usually start with A's, but today I'm enjoying the negative tone a little bit. And we just talked about Doug, so I want to start with one of your F grades. The only F grade that you ended up giving was, in fact, Doug Peterson. So just elaborate a little bit more on what you saw from Doug yesterday and why you gave him that grade.
Wait, Doug was there?
Well,
I guess so.
We talked about the 2-point conversion. I just have grown extremely tired of the stagnant start. I think that comes with something along with the game planning. The thing that I just can't understand is normally you try to pick on a guy on the other team and you game plan against somebody like that. Look at what the Cowboys eventually did against Sidney Jones when they realized that he was, not 100%. You take those kind of things into consideration, and I'm just not seeing any kind of a plan from the Eagles. When they start a drive and they start a play and you see a series of 3 plays as they're trying to get a first down, you just can't see any kind of a strategy in my mind. And to me, it's clear that this is not the same play calling they had a year ago, and it's leading to all kinds of problems. It's putting your defense in a bind, like we talked about. And I just think it's on Doug at this point to really work hard on coming up with a good 10 plays that they can practice and rep well, execute well this week in practice, and start a game for once with a good start. And I think really, like we saw the last 2 weeks, will help the defense, not have to play with their backs against the wall every time they're out there.
So I know we always talk about this after an Eagles loss, and sometimes it's overdone and sometimes it's not. But I see, first series, they gave the ball to Adams 3 times. He has 24 yards on his third carry. They have to punt. So then comes the second possession, 3 and out. No, but Adams never touches the ball. Then comes the third possession, 3 and out. Adams never touches the ball. Then comes the fourth possession. Now, at this point, there's a minute and 48 left. I get you're in your 2-minute drill. I'm still pretty sure you can run at least one play to Adams at that point to get your rhythm going, but Doug elects not to, and of course they get nothing on that either, and they go 3 and out. 27 minutes and 1 second, Scott, between Adams' third carry in the first quarter and his fourth carry in the third carry in the first quarter, and then fourth carry in the third quarter. I know they didn't have a lot of possessions and a lot of snaps, but there's something criminal in that to me.
Yeah, I mean, that goes along with some of the play calling, really the personnel decisions, too, who you put on the field. I asked Josh Adams, because I was wondering, I was like, did he get banged up? I know he's had a couple of things along the last couple of weeks that he's been dealing with. Mm-hmm. I said, were you healthy? He said, yeah, I was fine. Asked if he was surprised that he didn't get any carries touches between that opening series and then the third quarter, like you just laid out, Jeff. Mm-hmm. And his answer was, I'm just here to do what the team needs me to do. He took the political road, but you could tell in the body language that he was, frustrated and wondering the same thing. I just don't get it. The guy has been the most effective runner you've had. Why are you not giving him the ball there? And then I understand Corey Clement is not, in the game anymore. Why is Wendell Smallwood getting his first carry inside the 10? These kind of things I just don't get.
Scott, I want to I'm actually going to transition outside of the grades here real quick because I just want your thoughts on, you talked about frustration and body language, and I want you to elaborate more as far as what you saw in the locker room last night, because I'm curious as to where this team's at right now. How frustrated are they? Are they packing it in? I mean, you can never truly gauge that, but being in that locker room after such a devastating loss, Doug Peterson said it in the presser last night after the game. What was the feel in that locker room?
Well, when you first walked in, you could hear a pin drop. I mean, it was that quiet. It was that, guys just going about their business to get out of there. But when you talk to them in the body language, that you just kind of read off of them, and the things you started to hear, the tone with which they spoke, you really got the sense that they felt the season really, for all intents and purposes, slipped away. I mean, mathematically, they're still alive. They need a lot of help. But they knew the importance of that game. They didn't get it the way it ended. It was deflating. It was really their season in a nutshell. I mean, I asked Brandon Graham, I said, the way that game ended, a tipped pass, ball didn't bounce your way, is that really the way this season has gone? And he just said, that's it. That's it right there. I mean, that's the way that this year has gone for this team. And I just got the sense that they finally understood that they're likely not making a return trip to the playoffs now, with the Rams staring them down.
Yeah, I was going to say, that mindset bodes really well for next weekend. That this ain't our year kind of. That's all you want when you go fly across the country to play the Rams. Coming off a bad loss. But Scott, I mean, I think a big takeaway is that, and I said this, and it may sound ridiculous, but I really believe it's true. Even if the Eagles had maybe benefited from if they got those calls right, if they had won this game by a score because they got that extra possession, I feel like it just would have covered up how lousy they actually played and given people a false sense of security. They were out-executed, out-coached 2 times. They didn't belong on the field yesterday with the Cowboys because the stats tell you the Cowboys had 500, that almost more than double the amount of yards, more than double the first downs, more than almost double the time of possession. I mean, this game by no metric was a close game, only in final score.
Yeah, that's what was amazing to me, that the Eagles were still in it despite how poorly that offense played. And it's funny looking at Twitter because Cowboys fans were blowing up like, how do we only have 9 points at this,
Yeah.
And they were, there were even people calling for Garrett's head on Twitter, which was funny. But the thing that I think you take away from that, you're right, Jeff, it would have covered it all up. It was just putrid. It was awful. There was no game plan, as we talked about. And I just think the thing that the Eagles really need to try to figure out, and that they need to take the last 3 games here to show, is to build some sort of offensive momentum to head into the offseason with, because, it's certainly evaluation time, and the guys know that. They know that they're playing for their future in this league, whether it's here or somewhere else at this point in these last 3 games. And they got a chance to on national television next week to do that. But, yeah, it would have covered it up. This team's not a playoff team. They're not there. Carson's not there. And in general, everything on that offense just is so far away from anything. And you mentioned it, Jeff, the yards. I was watching Ezekiel Elliott run, and I was thinking, Doug's got to be seeing the effectiveness on first down of what you can do when you get 5 yards on a carry and call something like that, and it was pass on first down.
Yeah.
It's just where
I just went through the whole stat
nothing.
sheet. They did not run the ball consecutive plays in the entire game. There were no 2 consecutive runs for the Eagles the entire game. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then you can call a run play. You call Carson Wentz on an option on 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
To the short side of the field. I just don't get it.
It just seems like Jeff talked about it earlier, and Billy Osborne has said it before on the show. It just seems like the play calling is lazy. It just seems laziness from everyone involved, but most importantly, Doug.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it does. It looks very stale and stagnant. There's no creativity. There's no looking for misdirection. When Carson's got the pocket collapsing on him like it was yesterday, why are you not calling some rollouts? He seems comfortable rolling away from the pocket. Call something that does that. You got to try something different, don't you? I mean,
yeah.
What's the definition of insanity? Just,
Doug Peterson.
I just don't get what he was.
I was going to say Ryan Rothstein.
Close. That's the best
so
answer.
And then you come to the question, okay, well, how do they fix where they're at? And that's a whole nother 4-hour show that you guys have to do. But I think right now they've got a lot of decisions to make. Who stays, who goes, where do they try to improve? Obviously, injuries played a role in what happened this year, but aside from that, they've been in so many games. You look at the games they let get away, that had they won a couple of them, they're not in the position they're in right now. I mean, Tennessee, sure. In overtime, you look at the 17-0 lead they blew to Carolina. I mean, you can go almost count 5 games on your hand that they really should have won.
Absolutely. Well, Scott Grayson, thanks for joining us. As always, Grayson's grades following an Eagles loss. There's a lot more that we didn't get to. Be sure to check out Grayson's grades up now on the website, 973ESPN.com. That's 973ESPN.com for Scott Grayson's grades following the gut-wrenching loss to the Dallas Cowboys. Scott, glad you made it out alive from DFW, and thanks for joining us as always.
Yeah, DFW, it's a great place.
Just take my word for it.